into today's session, I would like to welcome Kaustubh, who's a charter member, who's a managing director and partner of Boston Consulting Group. He's where he focuses on technology, telecom, and digital across sectors. Prior to joining BCG, Kaustubh was the head of strategy at British Telecom in London, where he led a strategy and operations consulting firm. He also has several years of technology and product management and marketing experience in the US. He holds an MBA from the University of Chicago School of Business and London Business School. So, Kaustubh, I pass the baton on to you. The stage is yours. Do share the magic with everybody. And just before you start, I will also launch a poll so that we know who's in the audience. But carry on, Kaustubh. I'll do the poll while you're talking.
Excellent. Thank you, Cicely. Good afternoon, everyone, and Ramadan Kareem. Look, technology is the essence of or central to many of the startups that are defining and shaping the way we live today. There's also cross-pollination of ideas and technologies across sectors. And what may be standard or considered de facto in one sector is really now being deployed across the board. Now, many of these tech companies have scaled exponentially in the last decade, and we know that many more will in the years to come. What I'm keen to understand, is there a secret sauce? And if so, what is it? And to explore this topic, I would like to introduce our guests today, Jihad Allocate and Junaid Qureshi from Kaykroo. Kaykroo is an innovative food tech company launched last year in September. They have raised $7 million so far and have grown very rapidly in a rather short period of time, and now can talk very highly of 15 kitchens and 400 staff. Now, Jihad is an entrepreneur with varied experiences across sectors, including FMCG, banking, telecoms, and before moving into the restaurant business, and now most recently, food tech with Kaykroo. Welcome, Jihad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Junaid is a technologist with experience in local tech companies and startups, including AWS, Careem, Fetcher, and Noon. Jihad is the founder and CEO, and Junaid is the CTO. Welcome, both of you. Welcome, Junaid.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're very excited to have both of you in this fireside chat, and I am sure everyone's very much to results have come in. So thank you for sharing your results. Cicely, do you want to share the results? Please let you do that while I continue with the interview.
Yeah.
So look, let's start, Junaid and Jihad, with a little bit of basics so we are all on the same page. We have, as you can see from the results, our audience is from different sectors. So let's all get on the same page. Let's do a very quick Cloud Kitchen 101. So maybe, Jihad, do you want to help us start off by understanding what is a cloud kitchen? Right? If you can give us
this introduction about the cloud kitchen, which I'm assuming most people are aware of now. So a cloud kitchen is a restaurant that focuses exclusively on delivery. These restaurants or locations or cloud kitchens or ghost kitchens, whatever you want to call them, do not offer dine-in facility. So only production happens and the orders are only received online and the food is sent to the consumer for delivery. The concept of the cloud kitchen is new. It's still at its infancy. And I believe that the reason for rising the popularity of the cloud kitchen is majorly the changing of the customer preference. So with the increasing time crunch, customers are increasingly delivering from home. And of course, the pandemic and the COVID help big time the acceleration of the cloud kitchen process. Competition as well in the industry, or the stiff competition as well, with the decreasing amount of restaurants that have left the food industry, has given more opportunity for the brands to accelerate through using cloud kitchens. And the third advantage of the rise of the cloud kitchens is the operational cost reduction. So the restaurant industry today is known to have a very high operational cost, from real estate to CapEx to so many other elements that push the cloud kitchen to strive more and fast. It's the same revolution that happened with the e-commerce when it happens in the 80s and the early 90s, which gave a big mileage for this industry to strive. So I believe that today is becoming a new norm for the F&B or for the restaurant differently. One, building and owning our technology, and two, by building and creating experiences by creating our virtual restaurants. And I always say we always create brands and experiences rather than building labels. So in our business model, we make sure that all the brands that we carry on are brands that we create based on the preferences that we gather through the technology that we're building, or through the entrepreneurial program that we have launched last month, by inviting entrepreneurs from all over the world due to their success in their community or due to their success in their street or location to come and join us, part of the Kaykroo story and growth that we want to build.
Thank you for that, Jihad. Junaid, look, you talk a lot about parallels to cloud computing. I've seen an article of yours, I believe, on LinkedIn. It sounds very fascinating, and would love to hear a bit more from you on this parallel to cloud computing. I think that will make it very clear for our audience on the business model we're talking about here.
Sure.
Could you elaborate a bit more?
Yeah, sure, certainly. With the assumption that cloud computing is something that the audience understands, but if they don't, very, very quickly, cloud computing is, you have a set of resources, physical resources that provide you computation and storage. And these resources are utilized to a certain degree. If you want to maximize their utilization, you can create virtual machines or virtual computers that can be used via a hypervisor. So there's a layer of software on top of this physical machine. That layer of software is used to virtualize more machines. So in reality, there's one physical machine with a CPU and storage and memory, but it looks like there's more than one machine. And again, there's no industry definition of cloud computing, of cloud kitchens, but in our definition, we think of cloud kitchens as a parallel to cloud computing. How we have one physical kitchen with X amount of workstations, X amount of equipment, X amount of staff, and usually that one kitchen would be used to fulfill orders for one brand or one restaurant, whether it's takeaway or dine-in. We are now building software that is able to utilize all of these resources within this one kitchen to virtualize the experience of having multiple brands in multiple kitchens. How we do that, it's a complex set of problems. Those problems are mainly problems of, number one, data gathering or business insights. More specifically, it then becomes a problem of optimization where you're trying to maximize the utilization of whatever you have in that kitchen, number one. And number two, you're also able to, on the fly, look at the demand and the predicted demand of any menu items or products based on flavor profiles, time of day, locale, and a number of other feature points, and then push those menu items to those individual customers. So it's like
the right level of technical detail to make it accessible for all. So look, you talk a lot about tech, and I would explore that a bit more. So this is the tech part of this is it cannot be underestimated, basically. Look, I want to now, I think that's very helpful for us to have a base understanding of the topic. I want to get into you guys and your story in entrepreneurship. I think that's a lot of what our audience would love to hear. And before we do, just a quick shout out to the participants who are listening in. We have allocated sufficient time to answer your specific questions. So please do feel free to use the Q&A function here in the Zoom box below. And do send your questions. We'll try to answer them as we get through the session. Okay, good. So let's talk about the Kaykroo story. Now, let's start with you, Jihad, perhaps. So I'm keen to understand, how did you decide to get into this cloud kitchen space, especially from your restaurant business, right? Would love to hear about your story of the brick and mortar to the brick and click. And also, what was your mission when you started this journey?
So as an entrepreneur today, I think now I was looking at the screen, and if you see behind me, there's my termination letter when I was an employee, and I framed it behind my desk because really this is something that made me who I am today in terms of a person, or as an entrepreneur, or as a visionary. Usually any entrepreneur have to always think about the right moment of taking any decision. And the transformation that you were referring to from brick and mortar to the brick and click, it was a moment of now. We've seen the evolution that is happening in the tech. We've seen the rise in the food delivery. We've seen the technology endorsement of food delivery. So if you really look at the market size today and how much is growing on year-to-year basis, especially in the MENA region. So by next year in 2022, we're going to be a $5 billion market for online delivery. And this doesn't need two people to really make a decision immediately. And I invite all entrepreneurs today who are listening to us, when it comes to making a decision that your gut sense tells you is the right decision, to go ahead and do it. And the moment we decide to really go for the transformation from a brick and mortar to brick and click was in March last year, when we really saw the demand of online delivery rising, when we saw the future of cloud kitchen rising, and the acceptance by investors, by the whole chain on the ecosystem, because I know that you have mentioned the pre-series A and the raising that we've gone through in our round, which shows that the belief of investors or the belief of customers, because both of them, they come together. Customer changing his pattern of ordering daily. Investors want to change from a pattern of investing in a normal restaurant to go into investing in scalability and in technology and everything that comes with technology, of course. So we made up our mind, we made up our decision. We met me and Junaid so many times to really see how to really crack the tech part, how to really build something that is different, that is scalable, that is unique, and to have it as a core for our business model. And today, technology, it is the core of what we're building based on everything that we have studied, researched, analyzed, and of course, implement. Because so many people come with so many ideas, and the difference between someone with an idea and someone with another idea is someone who did it and implemented, and someone who's still thinking about it. And this is why it's very important for any person with a good idea not to take his time, because no one will wait for him. Someone else will come and do it. Yes, we're seeing a lot of cloud kitchens coming today to the market, but you can always find your differentiator, and your passion to what you're doing is very important. So the moment of now, do it and transform, was the trigger behind the whole transformation from the brick and mortar to brick and click. Of course, you have to include and involve the right ingredients, not from food point of view, but from people point of view. Because yes, we are driven by customer obsession and by customer preference, but if you don't have the right team and the right people, you will not be able to transform or to transit from one side of the valley to the other. And this is what we have done, alhamdulillah, successfully, by identifying the right team around us with the right ideas that we have done, and took the decision of transforming. So it wasn't easy, like any other business, but we knew that at the end of the day, there's light in the tunnel. and we want to crack it. And we are in the right path today of making every single step towards being the largest cloud kitchen when it comes to our business model, to the virtual restaurants, building our own brands, and spreading in the region here.
Thank you, Jihad. And if we just stay with you again, Jihad, on this, I have a follow-up on this point, right? So, I think this makes a lot of sense, and I like the conviction that you bring and the passion, the moment of now. I think that's great, right? And there are, oftentimes you find entrepreneurs pondering on the idea for too long, and you hear so many times, oh, I had this idea, now it's a little too late, right? So you just have to act at some point. And this moment of 0 to 1, right? At what point did you get past that brainstorming concept, discussing with Junaid in coffee shops and so on? And at what point did you say, okay, this is when now I feel comfortable enough, I've overcome my fear, I'm going to go do it? What was that pivotal moment?
Two things. Usually the 0 to 1 is the most difficult thing, because once you make your decision, you're done. You have to go all the way and to make it happen. But making the decision, and I always tell entrepreneurs and people who talk to me, make the decision, because once you do it, you throw everything behind your back and you only focus on succeeding. You only focus on making your dream come true. Usually the decision-making part is the most difficult one. So what made me decide? Everything that I've looked at in terms of ingredients around me were telling me consciously and subconsciously that we're doing the right thing. So meeting after meeting and really studying the fact to really convert was something that I was seeing very close to me, but maybe I wasn't touching it. For us, coming from F&B background, experiencing the brick and mortar gave me more confidence to really launch Kaykroo, because we've been through all the risks that anyone can go through when launching a food brand, or when launching a business that has to do with quality, with food, with production, with delivery. So I've done 60% of the job before in my past, and now the complementing this business by building the technology with Junaid's experience, with Junaid's background, gave me more confidence to really put these pieces together to have a very clear path in front of me towards converting. At the end of the day, it's about people. And I always believe that people will make it happen and people will make it fail. I don't think the idea is as important as the team around you, because any idea can be twisted as you go. You can learn as you go. It's a journey. And in this journey, you can fix a lot of obstacles or little obstacles. And whoever will make you see and overcome these obstacles are the team that are with you in the company. So this is why I always focus on this recipe, because it's a recipe of success for any entrepreneur to be around the right people and surrounded with the right brains.
Yeah, talk to you a bit on your experience, Junaid. You come now from experience across different, medium-sized, some large technology companies. I mean, you're a technologist at heart, right? Would love to understand about your switch, particularly from your most recent company, where you were obviously doing extremely well as a technologist, moving into food tech, a new space for you, and moving into Kaykroo with Jihad. How did you think about that?
Right, yeah, it's a great question. And to be honest with you, I've always had that entrepreneurship thing inside of me. I can remember back in 2003, I just started working, I'd finished my bachelor's, and I was attempting to build a hotel management system, your personalized kind of like app, which would be on a tab in a hotel, and you can select what you want, your orders and et cetera, et cetera. It never went through, and that's become like de facto now. So that was always in me. And then I kind of like in 2013 was the time when I started try to kick something off with my partner, Dr. Raza. He was from Microsoft Applied Research Labs. That was my first attempt at starting something. We got a humble acquisition after 18 months. We were subcontracting for the NHS. So number one, I think that's always been inside of me. That's the first thing. Now, secondly, in terms of food tech in the food space, I've been through ride-hailing, e-commerce, logistics, while being in the UAE, and we've been obviously, all these companies are working across the board. In the food industry, or let's just get right down to the restaurant. In the restaurant, currently, the software that's used, I was amazed to hear of that application that's running in the kitchen called a KDS. A KDS stands for a kitchen display system, right? Which means you're displaying something on the screen. And that's pretty much how much technology had advanced or has advanced in this industry. Huge gap, like huge gap, huge potential. And when you want to prepare the same thing at scale, so I've given this example many times. Let's just say you want to, cook an omelet for breakfast. You can do it any way you want if it's for yourself and your partner, right? But imagine now you have to cook the same breakfast for 500 people. You can't just like crack the eggs and throw them everywhere and just stick something in the frying pan. You have to have a well-formed, disciplined process, and to work at that scale and be performant at the speed that you want, it's practically impossible to do it without technology. So I'm not claiming we're inventing technology, but what I definitely am saying is that there are a number of technologies out there in different industries that have matured a lot, and we're just pertinently implementing them within this industry, which basically is the differentiator. And I think that's basically going to bring your unit cost down. It's going to have a massive impact. And naturally it's food, right? So it's impacting people's health, their lives, it's what they eat every day. Hence for me, it was like, yeah, there's a huge gap. I think I can help fill that gap. As we say, we can carve history together in this industry, and it just made sense. And, Jihad being as business savvy as he is with successful brands that he's already, launched, we just done it, right? And now we're all in it. It's as simple as that. Sleepless nights will happen. You'll fail, you'll get things wrong, but you need to carry on. You need to just get up. And that's part of the journey. Every time you fail, every time you get something wrong, you're basically refining your solution to a degree that you'll be proud of eventually. So there's a lot of gut that you need when you decide to do this. And that's what I done. I was like, yeah, let's just do it. Tried it again. And here we are today.
Great. So just do it. Thanks, Junaid. No, that's great. And while the spotlight's on you and we're talking about technology, I will take the opportunity maybe to weave in some of the questions that are coming in as it relates to our discussion. So let's maybe double click, no pun intended, on technology. I think there are a couple of questions coming here. One from Nitin, where he's asking, why build Cloud Kitchen software? There are many specialist companies that are building and iterating software all the time. I know this probably goes, there's a particular reason why you do that, but maybe, Junaid, do you want to talk about why you guys decided to spend so much of your effort and budget on building software yourselves?
Yeah, great question. And I can just answer that quite simply. Let's just say you place an order today on any of the marketplaces. I don't have to name them, but they're all in front of you. You place that order, it says order created or order placed. Then it says order accepted by the kitchen. And then that's it. And then it says preparing. And then it says, this is the driver that's going to be assigned. And now the driver's out for delivery. We cannot build at scale and optimize the unit cost that's required and guarantee the quality of product across the whole journey if we don't have our own technology. The vast majority of industry players, they have SaaS solutions out there in terms of Cloud Kitchen software, and they build generalized solutions, and they're very good, don't get me wrong, for that specific purpose, to build a generalized solution that provides you with a KDS and provides you with some way to integrate with a logistics partner. But the fine grain or the granularity at which we are trying to optimize our kitchens, and at the same time having a very, very fine-grained analysis of the customer and what they want, the end user, what they feel like, their flavor profiles change. The differential of somebody, the rate of change of a flavor profile is very different to the rate of change of somebody in, let's say, the kind of clothes they want to purchase. If somebody's into luxury items, they will continue buying luxury items generally. But as we've discussed before, the flavor profiles change drastically. So maybe on a Monday at lunchtime, you're going to want to eat something very healthy. And on a Thursday evening in the UAE, because the holidays on Friday, Saturday, you're going to maybe want fine dining. To be able to predict that well in advance, I mean, I would literally say it's next to impossible to use third-party apps. And a lot of these marketplaces, they're starting to also blatantly, hide a lot of this data. So the access of that level of data, and enriching what we're doing would only be possible with our own technology. On top of that, being able to pivot and add features and remove features and enhance features in our applications would not be possible with third-party vendors. I think that's pretty much where I would take this.
Okay, I think that's very helpful, Junaid. Now, the second part of the question that Nitin asked, and I will probably direct this to our CEO. So, Jihad, Nitin would love to know what percentage of your revenue would you ideally allocate to technology?
Revenue? What? I don't. So revenue or investment?
The question is what percentage of revenue, but maybe it's rather nuanced. So why don't you also share how you think about investments in technology? Because clearly you're investing a lot more, a higher percentage of your revenue. So how do you think about doubling down on
to enhance our unit of building the technology that we're investing in on the short term, medium term, and even long term, we will not invest and put all this money behind it. So the return on investment and every single layer or dollar that we're putting behind this technology is justified based on the unit economics that we're going to say. So there's a purpose behind the investment that is going towards the long-term vision that we have in mind for Kaykroo. And all that people that talk about investment in technology paid back for one purpose is how much you're going to enhance your margins, i.e. profitability. How much are we investing in technology from our total revenue? Today, we have a significant revenue already. We have good number of orders that's flying in on daily basis now. I don't look at it from total number of revenue. I look at it from our strategy that we decided to put in place by doing our Series A and the multi-series that we're building now to scale up more the technology. But I don't have an answer now in terms of percentage, how much is this going to that, because we're going into a multi-channel scalability, not only from technology point of view when it comes to investment. We're going at a scalability from brand point of view, from location point of view, from country point of view, from cities point of view, and technology. And the most important thing is the resources and the people that we are investing in. So it's not something that is quantified per vertical. It's something that we're looking at it horizontally for Kaykroo at this level, especially for the first round that we have closed, is to invest across all these components that I mentioned to make sure we can go to the next level.
Okay. And as you think about the next level, just to make sure we let Nitin walk away with some kind of ballpark view, food tech companies that have scaled up a bit further down, how much do they invest in technology on a steady state, would you say?
I have no idea. Junaid, I don't know if you have any preference on that.
I mean, to be honest with you, if you take it as a percentage, and how do you define a technology company is the first thing, right? And everyone's using technologies today. So again, we've discussed this previously, but we've had conversations before on this, but just to again elaborate, is Amazon.com a technology company? That's a question, right? And was it a technology company? And I'm not on about AWS, their cloud compute. I'm on about Amazon itself. So and this is how I believe a technology company, when do you classify a company as being a technology company? When the technology becomes the heart or that one vital organ of that business to survive, without which there will be no business, that's when you define it as a technology company. So I would actually put that question back to the individual asking and say, well, if that's the case, it's the most vital, I would suggest, and being a technologist, I would always say that it's probably more than your 30 or 40%. Like this is how far I'd go. I'm not sure if Jihad would go that far, but I've noticed most technology companies they will be hitting. It's a substantial amount if you're a technology company. Can we do that? Are we able to do that at all times? No, naturally, because as Jihad said, we're scaling in other different domains within locations and cities and kitchens and staff and brands and research and innovation in other areas as well. But it has to be a substantial amount. If you really want to build that technology, so building technology for the sake of technology never makes sense, right? You should always start with the problem, spend enough time in the solution space before you jump into the problem space and then just start saying that, we're a technology company and we're using XYZ, or we're using ML and we're using AI and we're doing all this stuff. Yes, you can use that. And we do use some substantial amounts of machine learning, by the way. but it's real, right? So we're starting with the problem and working our way back. Yeah, so it's a substantial amount. It's not just a few thousand dirhams, for sure.
Yeah. No, I think that perspective from both of you is very helpful. There's no clear-cut answer, of course, and it obviously depends on your strategy and how much of a tech company you are. So I think that's very, very helpful, guys. I want to pivot a bit and talk about scaling up. Yeah. Kaykroo has obviously grown very rapidly, and you guys continue to grow very fast. So I want to explore a few dimensions of this scale-up journey, and try to uncover as much of your secret sauce as possible. Yeah. So let's maybe start, and probably this question is for you, Jihad, whoever teams fit for this. But let's start with your vision. What are your goals, and where do you see Kaykroo in 2025?
I would see Kaykroo as, from a consumer point of view, offering the largest options of flavors, of brands, and of cuisines by building our virtual restaurants across the whole region. My plan today is to keep on, you have to always keep something in your mind that I always emphasize on, is to, as much as we are a technology company, but we are always investing in experiences. So this is something core for us. And the other thing that we always focus on is our march towards 500. And it's something that I'm very proud of. And this is what I always repeat and say in every single discussion that I have with the team or with all the stakeholders. So our vision towards 500, we want to reach 500 million dirhams turnover in 50 months with 50 brands that we own and be with in 50 locations. So this is what's driving us today up and day and night to make sure that we fulfill this vision. We are on the path. Today, in 9 months, we have achieved the first milestones of building whatever we have built to achieve this vision. And we want to continue on working hard to reach these milestones that we are working towards.
That's fantastic, Jihad. That's great to see. So now look, as you're scaling up, and we have no doubt that you will get there. So as you scale up, right, want to think about a few things that will help along the journey. I know both of you are super passionate about the experience you deliver. How do you think about building customer trust, and what are the things you've put in place structurally, organizationally, what have you, to ensure that you build that customer trust?
Customers today, if you look at customers and how much so today when we say that we are customer obsessed, because we mean it. And when it comes to food, and put the tech part on the side and everything behind the technology, at the end of the day, trust is for a customer are two things. One is to understand his pattern, what he wants. Two, give him a good quality meal. He's putting something in his mouth when he's hungry, so you better deliver the message that we are talking about. And I always brag about quality and quality and quality. As much as we say tech is important, no, quality of food is much more important. This is why I always repeat the fact that our history of coming from F&B background helps us better to understand this niche essence of pattern of customers look at. So trust today, I know that I can reach you once, but the essence of our success is to make sure you come back to us, to our brand, to these experiences that we are building. Technology is helping us to optimize, it's helping us to understand the pattern and everything that Junaid referred to. But for me, I always start from the customer and I go backward. So once you are putting your customer as the most important vertical or pillar or touch point, whatever you want to call it, he comes first. He comes first and he comes first and he comes first. So quality of food, not compromising on that, being a brick and click, as you said, and not a brick and mortar, you have to make sure that you are working 10 times more to satisfy this customer, because you don't have a second chance in delivery business. You don't have a second chance in cloud kitchen. He might try you once, twice, but he will not try you every day or every week based on his pattern if you're not going to get that good food. Then we comes with the other elements of how do we really take care of the customer by giving him his his persona in terms of different flavors, different menus, different cuisine, by understanding what he wants, by understanding his cycle, his life experience. And this is where technology comes in with all the ML and AI that we have in place to make sure that we are always surprising him. I always use the word surprise because we give him something that he's not expecting. If you are a vegetarian, I will give you all optional vegetarian, not only from one cuisine, but from different countries, from different nationalities. We try to introduce you to new cuisines from all over the world. We try to introduce you to different things that you're not aware that fits your persona. And this is what we always try to do by building the technology that we have in place.
Okay, I think that's very helpful, Jihad. And look, just building off of that, you are scaling rapidly. You will have all these restaurants we talked about, all these locations you talked about. Now, how do you ensure quality at scale, especially during busy seasons and festivals?
Listen, this is why we're investing. So today, scalability doesn't have to compromise our quality. I mean, I know it's important, but as management or as the leadership team understands how much it's important to invest in quality, not only from food quality, from people quality, even within the team, from the technology that we're building. If I will let maybe Junaid talk more about the quality applications that we have in the kitchens that help us to really identify before they happen any problem. This is where we're investing. This is where we are really trying to find this USP element for us to ensure that we minimize the number of mistakes that should or would happen when it comes to quality. I'm not going to tell you we don't do mistakes. Everyone in the food business have to face these issues. Not customers, you have different expectations. People, they don't come from the same communities or from the same culture or from the same, we name it. So it's something that will not compromise. And honestly, I mean, this is my only thing that doesn't make me sleep every day, that quality doesn't fire back on Kaykroo. So we need to make sure that every experience that we are promising our customer to, they live it, they experience it, they sleep with it, and they wake up with it. We make sure that the brands that we are building are experiences. And this is how we gain trust at the end of the day. I don't want to come and say we have 100 labels or 100 menu items. We're trying to create experience so people can relate to every brand that we have. So this is why if you look at all the brands of Kaykroo, we try to give them this persona of I am Kaykroo. Every brand is Kaykroo, and Kaykroo comes with so many other promises. And the promise number one is good quality for our customer.
Fantastic. I think that's great to see. You'll have many more subscribers on Kaykroo from this call today, Jihad. Junaid, look, you obviously are very passionate about technology, and Jihad does talk about the importance of that as well. You talked about analytics and using technology to predict what your customers want, right? I want to take a different spin on that now, and I alluded to this at the start, right? There are technologies that are de facto in certain sector that are now being used in others, and I know you guys are using different technologies, looking at you are now thinking outside the box, using technologies that are used elsewhere into the kitchen to really differentiate and deliver on the promise that Jihad is making to the customers.
Yeah, sure. So a quick example of a technology that's in another industry. As you already mentioned, I have a background in computer vision. That's what I specialized in during my master's. And then I worked in border management, biometrics, so facial recognition systems, fingerprint recognition systems. And basically, I try to think about how we can apply those technologies within the kitchen. And there are a couple of other companies that are doing that as well. So we have a computer vision-based application, which has a number of different features in there. One of the features being just detect, for example, the amount of space that's being used in the kitchen at any given time. So one of the units is a cost per square foot. In the industry, it's a very important factor of a kitchen, right? You don't want to waste space. So we're able to now calculate how much space is being used, let's say on a worktop, how much our oven is being used. Another example for safety compliance in terms of quality. How long has our fridge door been left open for? Has it exceeded how long it should have been left open for? Because if it does, then the temperature may drop to a degree that's not meeting our standards. That's another one. Are our staff wearing face masks or not while they're preparing the food? Are they washing their hands or not for 20 seconds or not? So the technology that was used for biometrics and border management, I haven't invented anything, but I've just personally applied very similar technology in the food industry space, specifically in the kitchen, to make sure that we're adhering to certain standards and we can be optimized. Likewise, we don't have a KDS. We have an order fulfillment system within the kitchen, but it's not a display system that you just look at. It's something where you're interacting with. We're seeing how long it's taking you. And I also believe technology, it's very important that technology is ethical. The technology that we is only doing as much as work as they're meant to be doing. They're not overworked. In terms of technology, when it comes to scaling, you mentioned it, and I think it's very important to mention that too. In a business, especially when you have a business, I've worked in different startups. I've started different startups. Some of them have been those organizations where you're looking for money. You have to be very frugal. Other ones, as an example, in Noon, already started with the money. You're figuring out how you can burn less money on a daily basis, right? Because it's just too much to spend. You have to make sure that your operations in terms of your business are aligned to the technology. Because if you notice, if there's a mismatch in terms of maturity of processes versus technology, then the technology is only going to be as good as, you know, the man behind the gun, and vice versa. If you've got excellent operational processes in place and the technology is kind of rudimentary, then you're not going to be able to run at that speed and operate at the scale that you want. So I think it's very important to make sure you take both together. And yeah, we're using technology in different ways. I've given you one example of quality compliance. There's other examples of in terms of optimization, how quickly we're getting orders to go to the kitchen, which station to put something to, based on the ingredients available, the skill set, the performance and the throughput of that one individual. We're monitoring and checking how long they take to perform a certain step in preparing food. So it's a lot of, there are a number of dimensions that are there.
This is very helpful, Junaid. And look, I think this is probably a good time maybe to answer one of the questions that's coming in from Deepak, who would like to understand what are the technology layers and the functional components for cloud kitchens. You already talked about some of them. Can you maybe briefly summarize the big building blocks?
Yeah, I mean, that I think we'd need a couple of hours just to discuss it, but I'll try my best to do it in a couple of minutes. Look, in the most simplest of terms, you have a mechanism for somebody to be able to create an order. That order can either come through a third-party marketplace, your own marketplace, so the Deliveroos, the Talabats, the Zomatos. So there's a way of creating orders. Once that order has been created, you want to validate that order's, it's valid. You want to sanity check it. So there'll be some mechanism of validating that. There's no fraud involved, right? Very, very simple. And this is standard across almost all applications today that you deal with, right, in terms of commerce. Then from there onwards, you're going to now accept you're going to have will happen through this orchestration engine, which is going to decide, hey, Janae's the baker. Janae's not the guy who's good at spreading. Okay, so give it to that station, display it on his screen. So that whole orchestration process will happen. So you have that orchestration process, which is a subset of your order fulfillment engine. Orchestration happens, order is prepared. You'll QC that order at every step. You'll have quality checking that's going to take place as well. And then you're going to have that order ready for dispatch. That order will be dispatched again. So you have this dispatch module or dispatch engine. From the dispatch engine, then you're going to go and give it to some logistics provider. That logistics provider can be your own, or it can be a third-party logistics provider. And then you hand that over to them. So in general, you have order creation, you have fraud management, you have fulfillment. Within fulfillment, you have your orchestration engine. Then you have a QC and quality checking. And then generally, very generally, you go on and so forth to your dispatch, and it will be dispatched and delivered, hopefully the customer will like it. And then you'll definitely want a feedback loop from the customer to know whether that food was good or not. And you're going to want to do some review mining, feed that back into your data engine, and then do the same thing. As an umbrella process, we're using computer vision-based applications in the kitchen. And again, I'm not using this as a buzzword. We're actually doing it, right? And we can see all these things at the same time. So now it's very hard at scale to monitor. Was the fridge door open for longer than a minute, right? Were the hands being washed for more than 20 seconds? I mean, putting people there is not feasible. So we have that umbrella process there as well. So they're the kind of major building blocks. I hope that answers your question.
Very clear, very clear. No, thanks for that. Good. I want to go back to the other dimensions for scaling up as part of your exponential growth. I don't think the role of funding can be underestimated. Yeah, you have already raised $7 million and are in the process of raising some more, right, as part of your Series A. Do you have could you help us understand a bit, when did you decide was the right time for your first round? How did you think about the timing and the sources of funds for your initial launch? And how are you thinking about now that you're scaling up?
So the idea, I started with my pre-Series A in the lockdown. So this is when my presentation was ready, my pitch deck was ready. And I started calling people to really see the feedback about the space in general, about our business model more specifically, because our business model is a bit different from the crowd. So we wanted to make sure that I understand the feedback and to do some kind of soundbeat exercise in terms of the interest. Once the idea started to really become real in terms of the transformation and putting all the elements together, doing the budgeting, the technology cost, and everything that we need for scalability in terms of investment. This is when we officially launched it in the market and we started doing our pre-Series A. We started with the first $4 million. We closed it in 5 weeks or in 4 weeks maybe. Then we decided to open Saudi Arabia and not wait for our Series A to go to Saudi. So we've done a bridge round for another $3 million that we closed as well last month. And we're opening Saudi Arabia, our first location in Riyadh that will come live in 3 weeks. Usually the money and all the investment that we are raising is to really match the supply. The demand is there. We have big demand today for cloud kitchens. As I mentioned, online delivery is growing to $5 billion. All the reports and all the information leads to confirm these numbers. You can see the ecosystem, how much has been fed globally. And when I say the ecosystem, from the aggregators to the cloud kitchens to the brands, you can see the trend how it's changing in the world. Look at a lot of attention. So this is how we started doing it. Alhamdulillah, it was, we had a lot of interest. We got oversubscribed in our pre-Series A. We had to tell so many people that we don't have room anymore. Now the preparation and the big job is in our Series A. Series A, we're doing a big ticket. And the reason why, because we want to grab a market share faster. We want to scale faster. And again, we want to go to more cities and more countries. Technology today, and this is the beauty about investing all this time and all the money that was put into this vertical, so we can scale faster. And this is where we're gonna start really seeing the benefit of everything that we've done in the past 7 months by scaling faster in all these cities with all these brands.
Excellent, very good. Talking of scaling and scaling fast, I also want to maybe explore briefly the role of the community and the broader ecosystem.
Infrastructure, we have the technology, we have the people, we have the innovation team that is doing what we're doing in terms of building our own experiences or our own virtual restaurants. Our unique differentiator from the other players in the market, we control the supply chain. And the reason why I say we control the supply chain, because it's translated to controlling your quality, to controlling the final product that has been dispatched or delivered to the end user. The entrepreneurial program came as an idea to support our scale and by bringing different flavors to our cloud kitchens. So when the idea started to explore in our heads and in our, with our committees, there are so many brands today that we might not have expertise in building in terms of brands. But we know that there are so many successful brands and very, like, you know, when we travel, people will tell you, you have to go and try this mom and pop shop at this corner in this street. So we always go to these small locations because they have done something right. If people, you know, word of mouth and food is the most snowball effect when it comes to sales. So if people are telling us to go and try a location in a corner that is not fancy or well known for the global franchise world, we go for it. We go and try it. We meet the owner who's cooking behind the station. We meet the mother who's preparing the food, or we meet the father who's sitting at the counter and taking and counting the money. So these kind of small mom and pop shop that are built based on a family or based on a success menu, success taste, we bring them. We make sure that they fit our supply chain. We make sure that we support them to take them outside. And usually these people are not someone that Al-Futaims will take or Azadiya will take or all these big group will take and franchise. These are the kind of people that we will honor ourselves with, making them grow, scale, and being international through the footprint that we are building. So our model is unique. We are trying to really bring people from all over the world. We brought people from Lebanon, from London, from Turkey. Now we're signing more people from the US, from these people that suffered through the pandemic because they want more income. They want to make sure that they are generating more income to survive or to grow, either or. And we are there to support them by using, again, our infrastructure that we have built in the technology to accelerate the process of onboarding. Because the beauty of what we're building in-house, that you can onboard in 4 weeks. Now get me any brand from anywhere in the world and I can make you like launch it in 4 weeks. And this is what we want to make sure that we're utilizing to scale faster.
I think that is quite fascinating, Jihad. I think while you're answering that, you probably broadly answered one of the questions that came in as well, how do you differentiate yourself, Cage, etc. You know, you basically said, you know, you control the supply chain. Are there any other things which you want to add to address that?
Listen, the two different kind of things when it comes to the different business model of the cloud kitchens, there are three. There's the real estate one, that it's a yield game. You go, you rent your space inside this kitchen and you pay rent, you hire people, you do your trade license. Then the one, they operate on behalf of the brand. So you give them your recipe, you give them your menu, and you complement the zones that the other brand is missing and you do the delivery. In my opinion, why we chose our business model, because one, supply chain is very important. Two is unit economics. We believe owning your brand, you have more flexibility to distribute margins in a better way without compromising on anything else. Because yes, scalability is important. Our business is driven by scalability, but our path to profitability is important for every single stakeholder that is within us. So we want to make sure that we are tapping into that, and we want to make sure that we are taking care of all these touch points that, in my opinion, are the success recipe for growth.
Super. And one last final question, and this is coming from Ashish, for you, Jihad. So you were a Nokia distributor and you built logistics capabilities in Pakistan, which presumably is not your native country. What parallels have you seen in your journey since then to know as a
an entrepreneur, anything else. My son was at the hospital when I traveled my first time. He was born. My wife had a job by then. And I calculated my risk by saying, what's the worst that can happen to me? Worst case scenario, I'm going to fail and I'm going to find another job when I come back. So really the experience of Pakistan made me resilient, made me think that everything is doable. Going to a country that I've never visited and to build a company that allowed me to grow from $10 the first day and to $100 million before I sold it. It gave me a lot of confidence for the now moment. It was an opportunity in front of me. And honestly, I didn't think about it twice. It was a decision that so easy to make, but I worked hard to make it happen. I suffered for the first 2 years or 3 years, maybe. I suffered from all elements, from getting to know the culture of Pakistan, of meeting all these traders and wholesalers, by flying to Peshawar, to these tribes, or Islamabad, or I know Pakistan today at the back of my hand. And when I say I have the best experience by living in Pakistan, people, they don't believe me. By literally, Pakistan was a transformation for me personally as a person, because it gave me so much confidence in myself that if you do it in Pakistan, you can do it anywhere else. And this is why, as a closing note, I invite every single entrepreneur to think about, in case they will lose or they will miss or they will fail, don't lose confidence in yourself, because there's no harm in failing. Failing will just make you stronger to learn from this mistake so you can succeed in the next journey. We should all think about this way. We should all look at it from this perspective and not be scared. Because if we're always going to fear our income or our lifestyle, that means we have framed ourselves within this hole that we don't want to go out of it. It's good to really look at it from this perspective and look for the future for you and for your family.
Very nicely said, Jihad, and this makes us come back full circle to your initial statement, which was the moment of now. Look, we can go on for a couple more hours. I've had a lot of fun having this virtual fireside chat with you. You guys have been fantastic guests. So thank you, Jihad. Thank you, Junaid. On behalf of everyone, all the participants, this has been very insightful and inspirational. So thanks again.
Thank you everyone for